that's not what's happening. Instead, the response is calm, perspective, and understanding.
Racist people don't really want segregation. Segregation is drawing a line in the sand where black people live on this side and white people live on that side. They don't want segregation. They want selective segregation, servitude, and unfair treatment. Segregation is what happened to Black Wall Street. See, that's what they don't want. Here's the big difference. Racists want you to live where they put you, and they want you to work towards the advancement of their society over here. So we want you to live here, but work in the coal mines, in the fields, and work in the construction, the hard labor. And then when you get done, leave over where we are and go stay where we told you to stay. And also we want unfair treatment. Look up to us as we look down on you. But the second we start having our own banks, having our own doctors, having our own farms, letting the money that we create inside our community continue to circulate inside our community and build our own community up, that's an issue. That's why Black Wall Street gets burned down, because what we're doing over here doesn't benefit what they're doing over here. Like, I gotta build my own thing up. No, we want people low enough on the totem pole financially and educational wise that we can use them to be the burden bearers of our society. That extends past color.
Okay, so I have seen some really, really great think pieces and narratives and jokes about this whole segregation thing. But I want to be able to let you know that the whole segregation thing has nothing to do with black people and has everything to do with white people. Follow me, okay? So it reminds me of Toni Morrison, who is my favorite author. She is a black author, but she is my favorite author, period. And she was being interviewed by a white woman. And essentially the white woman asked, like, when are you going to elevate your writing and include the white perspective in it? Like, or the right, or the white gaze in it, as she would say. And Toni Morrison replied that I'm not. Because Toni Morrison believed that her books could be read by everybody, but she wrote her books for black people. And if you're not a part of black culture, there are certain things within our culture that mandates explanation so that those that are not a part of our culture can understand it. Toni Morrison took that out of her writing. So she said, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, then you don't. But I'm only writing through the black lens for the black experience and the black gaze. That is it. And so when the lady asked that question, Toni Morrison said, I'm never going to do that. And the reality is that black people live very, very full lives, and white people aren't even a thought. Like, black people tend to live their lives in a way where we do not think about what white people are doing. And that is very true. It is very factual. A lot of black people only interact with white people because they go to work with them. Right? So if they do not work with white people and you're black, how many times are you socializing with white people outside of work? For a lot of black people, you don't really socialize a lot of times at work, after work, with white people. And so when you have that reality, then it begs for you to be able to go down a line of questioning, right? Which is, what is the issue with segregation? And I've seen some white people on here that was like, white people should be saying that segregation is bad. And the reality is that no, that's not really the problem, right? Because the problem is that we were separate and not equal. That's the problem. It was the maltreatment. Because the reality is that we are no longer segregated, but yet we are still mistreated. We still are not offered the same amount of opportunities. We are still not paid the same rate. We are still not afforded the equality of it. So what white people did was, okay, fine. We will desegregate. It's fine. But once black people entered these spaces, we were still being mistreated. And so the question could actually be, if we had equality, right? If we had equal access to buying land, equal access to be able to garner wealth, equal pay, and we were never desegregated, would desegregation actually be necessary? And there is when you take a look at what was happening with the Tulsa riot, is the fact that black people were equal and separate. Right? They had land, they had businesses, they were accruing wealth. It was the wealthiest Black community and white people who were not a part of the community, very much separate, and yet we are equal, right? They have banks, they have people that build, they have people that, grocery stores, they have houses, they have neighborhoods, they have milkmen, they have mailmen. White people have their own neighborhoods, white people have their own businesses, white people have their own groceries, white people have their own things, separate but very much equal. And white people looked over and said, what are they doing over there? And bombed it. Right? Because otherwise, if Black people continue on prospering on their own, why would any Black person say, I need to be over there? There's an argument for that. And so then when you look further, taking a look at desegregation, right? Whose lives improved due to closer proximity of white and Black people? White people. Their lives improved. Their logic improved. All of a sudden, they begin to be enlightened on the reality of the fact that they themselves were lied to. Otherwise, had they not come into proximity with Black people, there is no reason for them to believe that their ancestors ever did anything wrong. Or there's also no reason to believe that they are more like Black people than what they were told. Because many, many years ago, the Republican Party, right, they said that the way that you are able to steal from poor white people is to convince them that they're better than Black people. And if you can convince them of that, you can steal money from out of their pockets and they would never notice. So here we are, where we are no longer desegregated. And you see all over this app where you have white people that are learning a lot about historical truths that Black people already knew. We already knew these things. But you have white people on a daily that are like, I didn't know that. That's not what I was taught. I wasn't taught that, right? You have whole religious sects of people that were literally taught that the Civil War was not about slavery. You literally have all of these white people that had no clue that Juneteenth existed, or why it existed, or how many years it actually took post-emancipation for the last slave to actually be freed. Proximity has caused for a lot of the misinformation fed to white people to perpetuate racism, to be dismantled. And so you literally have people that are white nationalists. I need you to follow. You literally have people that are white nationalists that are now running the Republican Party, right? In order for them to bring white people back into subjugation, we have to separate them from minorities, because they are learning truths that causes it to be extremely difficult for us to tell them that Black people are subservient. Because proximity means that you are able to identify where we overlap. Now they're understanding the humanity of minorities. And now they're not going to go along with the Aryan beliefs that white people are the elite race and they are better than another ethnic group and they deserve to have things by virtue of them being white. Do you see how segregation has nothing to do with Black people and has everything to do with getting white people back in line? Are you understanding what's going on here? Because it's never for the sake of Black people, which is why Black people is like, we cool. Segregate, separate, illuminate, elucidate, do whatever you got to do. And that is a very true reality. Because we have only known desegregation. But we have also only known that when we're in your proximity, we are still killed. We are still murdered. We are still mistreated. We are still shunned. We do not have the same access, even though we are in closer proximity. So if our lives have not changed by becoming in closer proximity, why would we continue to be close? Okay, separate us. But you have white people that are like, no, segregation is wrong. Why? Because your life has changed because of proximity. Are you understand what I'm saying to you? Do you get this now?
Exclusion is not hypothetical, it's history. When access was denied, schools were built elsewhere. When doors were closed, businesses were created. When systems excluded, communities organized and survived anyway.
Segregate us, just know that